Alright, hi everyone. Let's continue with our data structures and algorithm series. In our previous videos, we have seen some basic sorting algorithms like bubble sort, selection sort, and insertion sort. But those algorithms were not so efficient and also doesn't scale well. As we know, their time complexity is O of n square in average and worst cases, which means if we have large data set, then those sorting algorithms are going to take plenty of time to sort our given data. But as we all want better and faster solution to sort our given data, for that we are going to see another sorting algorithm, that is merge sort. Now this sorting algorithm is not same as the basic ones that we have seen in our previous videos. This one is little bit complex. So we are going to cover this in two parts. Alright, with that, let's see what is merge sort and how it works. First of all, merge sort is a combination of three things: splitting, sorting, and merging. Meaning, first we will split our given data into smaller chunks and then we will sort them. Once we have the sorted smaller chunks, then we will merge them to get the final output. Let's try to understand with an example. As you can see, I have an array here which has elements 1, 5, 2 and 0. Now we have to sort this array using merge sort. So as I just mentioned, it's a combination of three things: splitting, sorting and merging. So first we will split our given data into smaller chunks. Like this array will be divided into two parts. The first part will have 1 and 5 and the second part will have 2 and 0. Now we have to keep on dividing these arrays into smaller chunks until we get the array of single elements. Meaning we will further divide these arrays and we will get four different arrays. First array has 1, second array has element 5, third array has element 2 and the fourth array has element 0. Now since we have got our given data splitted up, all we need to do now is to sort and merge them. So first we will sort and merge our first part that will have these two arrays with element 1 and element 5. Now if we compare element 1 with element 5, we know element 1 is smallest. So after merging, element 1 will come first and then we will have element 5. Now this array is sorted. Same we need to do with our second part that has an array with element 2 and an array with element 0. Now if we compare 2 with 0, we know 0 is the smallest. So after merging these two arrays, 0 will come first and then we will have 2. Now after first sort and merge, we have left with these two arrays. Now we have to do the same steps with them. Now if I compare 1 with 0, I know 0 is the smallest one. So 0 will come first. And then I will compare 1 with 2. And we know 1 is smallest, then we will have 1. Since 1 and 0s are already placed, now we will compare 5 with 2 and we know 2 is the smallest one. Then we will add 2 in our final output and the only left element is 5 now. So we will put 5 at the last. Now this is our sorted array and that's how merge sort works. Now in the part 1 of merge sort, we will cover how to merge two sorted arrays. For that, let's look at our pseudocode. Not exactly a code, but here is the idea how to merge two sorted arrays. The first step will be to create an empty array. We will call it output or maybe result, whatever you like. And then we will look at the smallest elements in each input array. Now since these arrays are sorted, we know their smallest elements will be at the 0th index. And then we will check if the value in the first array is smaller than the second array, we will push the smallest value in our output array. And then we will move on to the next element in the first array. Let's say if the value in second array is smaller than the value in first array, then we will push the smallest value in our output array and move on to the next element in the second array. This might be a little confusing, but we will see how it will work visually and then we will write code for it. But let's try to understand it first, because understanding the concept is more important here. Writing code will be easy. Once we have exhausted all elements of one array, then we can push all the remaining elements of other array into the output array. This might be sounding confusing. Let's look at it visually. So for example, I have two arrays here. First one is having two elements that is 1 and 5, and the second array has again two elements, that is 0 and 2. Now if we look at our pseudocode, the first step is to create an empty array. Consider this red box as our empty array for now. We will call it output. Then the second step is to look at the smallest elements in each array. So the smallest elements are 1 and 0, right? I will create two pointers here. First one is I and the second one is j. I will be pointing to the 0th index of array 1 and j will be pointing to the 0th index of array 2. Now we will compare 1 with 0. We know 0 is the smallest one, right? So we will push 0 our output array, and here you can see 0 is at the first index, and you can see here 0 is entered into the output array. Now since 0 is already used, we will move our j pointer to the next element. As you can see here, j is now pointing to the element 2. Now the next step will be comparing 1 with 2. We know 1 is smallest. We will put 1 in our output array. Now since 1 is also used, we will move our I pointer to the next element, that is 5. Now you already know the next step, right? Compare 5 with 2. As we know 2 is the smallest one, so we will put 2 in the output array and move our j pointer. Now there are no other elements in this array, so we can say this array is already consumed. Now we can put rest of the elements of array 1 into the final output array. The only left element was 5. Now we will put 5 in the output array, and this is our sorted array. Now let's try to see how to implement merging two sorted arrays in JavaScript. For that, let's jump on to the code sandbox. Alright, so if you see, the first step is to create an empty array. And then we have to look at the smallest elements in each input array. Now if you remember the visualization, we created two pointers, and we are assigning 0 to these pointers because we know the smallest elements will be present at the 0th index. And now we have to compare the elements of these two arrays, right? For that we will need a loop here. I will be using while loop, and this while loop will keep on going until we reach the end of the arrays, right? So the condition will be now we have to compare the two elements. If the element in array 2 is greater than the element of array 1, then we will push the smallest element into our empty output array. That will be array 1 of I. And if you remember, once we push the element into our output array, we will move the pointer to the next element, like this j pointer moved from 0 to the element 2. So I will do here I++, right? Else if element of array 1 is greater than element of array 2, then we will push the element of array 2 in our output array. So output.push array 2 j, and once we utilize the element, we have to move our pointer to the next element. That will be something like this, right? Now if we look at our pseudocode, in the end you will see once we exhaust all elements of one array, then push all remaining elements from the other array into the output array. So now let's assume that we have iterated over all the elements of array 1, then we have to make sure we have added the remaining elements of array 2 into our output array. For that, the condition will be j is smaller than array 2.length, then keep on pushing the remaining elements to the output array, right? And keep on incrementing the pointer. Same, let's suppose we have iterated over the array 2, but still some elements are being left in array 1, so we have to push them as well in the output array. I will use another while loop here. While I is smaller than array 1.length, I and keep on pushing the array 1 remaining elements, and keep on incrementing the pointer, and in the end we will return the output array. Alright, I think that's all what we need to do to merge the sorted arrays. Now we will check the output in the console. Let's uncomment this call. Alright, you can see given data is now merged and sorted. Now this is just half of the merge sort. Rest of the part we will cover in the next video. Thanks for watching.